The dumbest lottery winners of all time. It's from our friends. Well, they don't know us, but we love their videos. Be amazed. But their videos are amazing. If you haven't seen a lot of the videos we've reacted to, have been by Be Amazed. The description will be in the comment for the channel, as well as this video. Definitely check them out. It's awesome. Super awesome videos. This one, dumbest lottery winners of all time.
Ever find yourself clock watching at your 9 to 5, dreaming what it might be like to win big on the lottery? Well,
Yes.
hard to believe, but the grass isn't always greener on the lotto winner's side.
I got you guys. I feel like I hit the lottery because I get to hang out with you every day for this job.
We gotta have a day where you look at chat and look who was nice then trolled real fast after graduation. That would be amazing lol. Also don't time me out. I can't get meld coins for a day and I felt like dying.
I give a nice comment and compliment to you on everything. All you care about is your f***ing mold coins, your channel points here. It's a not timed out hour.
From those who excessively splurge their cash on the
They put demonetization on his nipples. This guy, I think he was a garbage. He was a garbage man. Won like 15 million, I think. Blew it on like women and stuff and just fancy crap. And then went right back to working as a garbage man.
finer things to those whose fraudulent and immoral schemes saw their millions melt away. Stay tuned, because coming up are some of the dumbest lottery winners of all time.
Let's go. Don't forget, and I always say this, and I know some people like garbage man, you know, like is it in New York City, garbage man is one of the best jobs you could get. Pension, the overtime, the money, the benefits, it's like one of the best jobs, and there's a long waiting list for it.
Alimony phony. They say that trust is the foundation of any relationship, and without it, you have nothing. Well, this exact sentiment became a literal reality for our first lotto winner, as her deceit left her penniless. It was 1996, and Denise and Thomas Rossy had been seemingly happily married for the last 25 years. However, much to Thomas's surprise, one day Denise suddenly wanted a divorce. And while perhaps Thomas's snoring or untidiness might have been a contributing factor like other failed marriages, there was a vital piece of information Thomas didn't know that had set their marriage on the rocks. Just 11 days before filing for divorce, Denise and her pals pulled together and won $6.6 million on the California State Lottery,
And she wanted a divorce so he couldn't get any of it. That's so messed up.
with Denise secretly pocketing $1.3 million. It seems plausible to imagine that Denise was already unhappy in her marriage and thus saw her winnings as an escape route. Whatever the case, the divorce was finalized and Thomas was left none the wiser on his now ex-wife's winnings the entire time. But here's the crux. When finalizing a divorce, both parties are legally required to declare their financial position as to determine alimony payments. Having just become a millionaire, Denise knew that if she declared it, she'd have to share a portion of it with Thomas. So she just didn't declare it. No biggie, right? Well, 2 years after the divorce, Thomas, who was still in their marital home, received a letter addressed to Denise regarding her lottery winnings. What lottery winnings he initially...
Oh, man. Bro, right time, right place.
But before long, the proverbial penny dropped and the pair were back battling it out in court. Ultimately, the
him.
court found Denise guilty of fraud and declared Thomas as being entitled to the full sum of her winnings.
What?
Ouch. Mega ouch. It may seem like a harsh punishment, but let this be a lesson, folks. Honesty is always the best policy. Or just make sure to change out your mailing addresses after your big lottery win.
I'm still wondering, though, why was he... I guess he was moving stuff, and if they split the house or selling it. Oh, man. Good for him.
Ghost gambler.
Gamble?
Back in 2005, Oregon woman Christina Goodenow won $1 million on a scratch card lottery ticket. But strangely, this didn't trigger the big celebration you might imagine. As a matter of fact, there was something rather shady afoot. See, Christina didn't want anyone finding out about her win. So much so, she specifically requested that lottery officials keep it on the down low. Meanwhile, though, the local police department were tracking down suspicious activity on the credit card of a woman who'd passed away a year prior. This ultimately led them to Christina, who it turned out had actually been using her then-boyfriend's dead mom's credit card to buy things, including her winning lotto ticket,
Oh.
technically making it a dead woman's winnings.
Yep.
In her reckless swiping of the credit card, Christina had incurred $12,000 of debt, which she attempted to pay off with her lottery winnings. But alas, despite now having plenty of money, her fraudulent credit card usage led the police right to her, and Christina was charged accordingly with forgery and theft. And while Christina insisted that she'd used her own cash to buy the ticket, she was stripped of her winnings.
Doesn't matter. You can't prove that it was her. Like, what do you separate the money? Can't prove that.
At
Oh,
the
that
local
sucks.
police department. She was also sentenced to a month behind bars and given 2 years of probation.
Oh my
Hopefully,
God.
during Christina's short time in the slammer, the police at least spent some of her winnings on a few nice things to spruce the place up. Not so filthy rich.
That's rough.
You ever been so close to something you could almost taste it? That is.
What the fuck is that? There are so many other things you could use.
It can be soul crushing. But just imagine winning $26 million and having it yanked from beneath you. In 2021, a U.S. woman who remains anonymous won the aforementioned $26 million on the lottery. It was an incredible stroke of luck. In fact, for perspective, you're 250 times more likely to be crushed by a meteor than you are to win the lottery.
Jeez.
Anyway, the winning ticket was unfortunately where this anonymous woman's luck ended, as she accidentally put her winning ticket in the washing machine.
What?
Ultimately, after a full cycle, the woman's fortune became nothing but a squishy, crumpled, illegible piece of paper.
This reminds me similar to people who have, there was a guy who had a ton of Bitcoin and like lost the hard drive. But I feel like this is worse. Oh man, because oh man.
In her desperation, she returned to the store where she'd bought the ticket from and requested surveillance footage that would show her buying the winning ticket. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough for the lottery company to grant her winnings. According to them, the only way to cash in a lost or destroyed ticket would be by having a picture of it front and back.
Yeah. Oh. Bro, they'll do anything. They'll do anything to be like, no, it's void. The thing is, right, you ever see when they hold these lottery, things and they put it on TV and they'll be like, there's a winner in New York. Well, they'll be like, there's a winner in Texas, right? They know where it was sold, the winning numbers. It's all tracked. And if you go by the exact time with the person buying it and seeing it, you could pinpoint that was the person that bought the ticket with those numbers. This is just any way to get out of it.
But let this be a reminder that nothing good has ever come of doing laundry. Lady Luck. As we've mentioned, statistically, winning the big-time lottery is virtually impossible, with jackpot odds coming in somewhere between 1 in 170 million and 1 in
Jesus.
292 million, depending on what lottery you play. However, one woman defied all statistics when she won the lottery not once, but twice.
What?
It was October 1985, and regular lotto lover Evelyn Adams from New Jersey won an astonishing $3.9 million. But even with enough cash for a lifetime, she continued playing the lottery and just 4 months later scooped an additional $1.4 million. Evelyn was now sitting on $5.3 million. However, this massive fortune wouldn't last long. Evelyn was initially responsible, opting for annual payments of $218,000 rather than the lump sum.
Okay, that's fair, and that's smart for some people to take the annual payments.
She invested in her daughter's education as well as businesses such as her own music store, but ultimately these ventures failed and her money began to dwindle. Not only that, but she was very generous in her donations to friends and family, some of which were merely loans that were never repaid as people took advantage of Evelyn's wealth.
Every time, I tell you, and with this kind of stuff, one of the biggest things and threats in this world is money. Try not to loan money to friends or family. It's not like you don't trust them or anything. Keep it away to avoid anything. I don't say, if you're going to help a friend or something out, don't give them a loan. If they're like, I'll pay you back, don't do that. Just, if you're going to do anything nice, be like, here, this is a one-time thing. Here, you don't need to pay me back. As a one-time thing, because then if you're looking to get the money, the fights start when you're looking to get paid back. The real thing, anything, if you can avoid loaning or giving money or anything, any money involved with friends or family, just keep it away. That's your best option. If my niece needs some money for ice cream, I'm telling her to kick rocks. Viper, shut the fuck up. If anybody here wins the lottery, your first move should be, at least is my opinion here. First thing is a financial advisor. Next thing is a lawyer. I would also have a third party of a lawyer and accountant as well to monitor those initial two to make sure that they're not doing anything fishy. So you got double eyes on it. And I wouldn't tell anybody. Just in case something goes wrong, something happens, you don't get the money, anything. Family members will come out of the woodworks, people hear about it, to get robbed, anything, a million things. Just shut up,
Amazon Prime,
do all of that, listen to those people.
I've seen entire families ripped apart by money. When grandma died, it was 50-50 between my brother. Nobody else got anything. We both agreed to split with dad, because I love my grandma, trying to f her own son over. And that was it. Everyone else was told they could go kick rocks. Luckily most of that side of the family is sane. And too old to care about the money, seeing as they're on their way out. PA did take their cut match. Saw a news article online before of a man who was involved in a car crash and was clinically dead for 14 minutes and ended up in a coma for 2 weeks. After being released, they decided to celebrate by buying a lottery ticket and won a £17,000 car. The news then decided to cover it and wanted to film a reenactment, and he won £140,000 more when he got the ticket for the reenactment.
When he tried to be a React Andy, he was going to be like, do the YouTube thumbnail face. And he actually won like 140K being a React Andy. Why do you think I'm doing this? I'm hoping my day will come.
Evelyn became a regular at Atlantic City's casinos, ultimately betting away her very last dime. And by 2012, she had nothing.
Bro.
There isn't much reportage on what happened next, though news outlets claim she now lives in a trailer park.
Oh my...
In fact, this recent picture of Evelyn seems to show her in some kind of food service work uniform, not looking particularly happy. And in all honesty, having won the lottery twice and still lost it all?
Okay, I know we joke a lot and talk a lot about it. We all love gambling, right? Gotcha games and like gambling in video games and stuff. I know we joke about it. Gambling is awesome if done correctly for entertainment purposes and responsibly. Gambling addiction is a very real thing, and it is devastating because most of the time, someone who has a gambling addiction will not reveal it just out of humiliation, embarrassment. So you could see someone that looks completely fine, but they are just crippling inside because of it. It's a very, very real thing. So, one, if you have that problem, please seek to get help.
To me, a lottery ticket is a $3 investment on spending the next hour in a dreamland where I've won. I like to do it once a month or so, okay?
That's the best part. We've all done that before. We buy a ticket and we just sit in dreamland wondering. And I thought to myself too, and I mean this, I thought to myself too, if I won the lottery, right? Say I won 100 million, all right? Let's just make it an absurd amount. After taxes, 50 million, right? What would I do? Would I come on the stream and when you guys, send me TTSs on how I'm bald and all that, would I just time out everyone, ban everybody and be like, last stream, boys? Part of me was like, that'd be really funny. But realistically, I would continue streaming. I would utilize that money for more charity stuff together as a group. I love this job. However, and you guys are like, no, you have to finish this game. Please stay up there. Fuck you. I would do that. Or I'm like, guys, I'm going to be taking off tomorrow. I have a lot of stuff to do and work to catch up on. And basically, you guys make me pay for my days off. You're like, well, you didn't ask for PTO. And you all spam it. And then I got to, gift like 50 subs just to take off one day. You know what I'll do? I'll be like, yeah, I'm taking off tomorrow. They're like, your PTO. I'll be like, guess what? And I'll drop 1,000 subs in there. I'll be like, fuck you and your PTO. I'm taking off a week. But would I keep streaming? 100%. I love this job.
No way, Jose. You might think you can trust the people in your life, but when it comes to money, trust no one. Something our next lotto winner learned the hard way.
Oh boy.
Back in 2010, Jose Antonio Quatac went to the local store on his boss's behalf and decided to buy himself a lottery ticket. Important to note, with his own money. This lottery ticket turned out to be worth $750,000. Naturally, Jose was overcome with excitement, but he quickly realized there was a slight issue. He was an illegal immigrant to the USA from Guatemala. Fearing that declaring his lottery win would lead to questions and thus his deportation, he put his trust in his boss, Eric Cervantes, to cash the check. As sort of a quid pro quo, the pair decided that they would share the winnings. But as Eric publicly cashed in the check, he was overcome with greed and refused to give Jose his share. Jose was furious and eventually decided to lawyer up. The case went to trial, and just in the nick of time, the store where Jose had purchased the ticket came forward and provided surveillance footage of him doing so. With Jose proven to be the rightful recipient, he was awarded the full sum of money, though the media attention this attracted left him at risk of deportation.
Oh, man.
While there have been no public updates regarding whether Jose was ultimately deported, the worst part is all this could have been avoided. Turns out Georgia law doesn't require lottery winners to prove their citizenship to claim their prize. A quick Google search and Jose would have known this without getting his boss in.
Well, no, he just learned that his boss is a piece of shit individual, and he learned a life lesson, and he got to keep the money. And never do that again, and do your own research. But it looks like he got to keep the money.
Only risking losing it all and being deported. It's all just further proof that bosses really are the worst.
Yep.
Jack the Giver. $314 million is a lot of money. In fact, with the USA's average life expectancy of 76 years, that's enough cash for a person to spend $11,319 every day of their life.
A day?
However, one West Virginian man, Jack
$11,000 a day. That's insane.
Jack Whitaker chomped through that sum in just 4 years after winning the lottery in 2002. How? Well, his first mistake was that he had a habit of keeping large amounts of cash in a suitcase in his car. And I mean large amounts. $545,000 cash to be precise.
Why?
Needless to say, this quickly caught the attention of burglars who broke in and stole it. And that was just one break-in.
He deserves to lose this money. I get nervous when I used to have a TomTom, like when TomToms were popular when you back in the day. Bro, I used to get nervous leaving my TomTom in the car. Just someone's gonna break in and take my little TomTom for GPS. This dude's just sitting back there with 500K like it was no problem. If you guys don't know, a TomTom was when GPS before like the iPhone and everything like came out. There was a thing called like when with cars, there was a thing called a TomTom, and what it was is it gave you GPS like to go places, so you put in the place. Yeah, it was like one of the first GPSs for you to get around in your car. You had to buy it separately and set up. So I had one. I used to be paranoid even having in my car. I figured because if someone stole it, not only would I lose out on the money of the TomTom, but I'd be lost because I have no directional awareness. So
when asked why he'd keep his cash in his car, Jack cockily retorted, "Because I can." Pretty shocking how this guy's now in a video about dumb lottery winners, right? But to his merit, he was also extremely charitable, and not just to burglars. He reportedly pledged 10% of his fortune to various Christian charities and even built a multi-million-dollar church in West Virginia. Not to mention creating his own charity, the Jack Whitaker Foundation, which provided food and clothing to low-income families. Heck, he was so
really
generous, or arguably ridiculous, that he once drove his Lamborghini through his neighborhood throwing cash out to strangers.
Breaking Bad learned from this guy with Jesse. Doing all that charity work, driving a Lambo, chucking cash out the window for people, you know what, I'm not gonna... Idiot for leaving it in your car, but he's just living his best life.
That isn't to say, though, that he didn't indulge in the cash himself. While he initially claimed that the money wouldn't change him, the reality is that just a week later, he would blow $50,000 in one night's festivities. I mean, I guess you could justify that as charity.
One night festivity? Well, that's not that weird. $50,000 on one night festivity. I have went to some weddings that I don't understand how people do it. It's crazy how I know of many couples that will go and they will have this ginormous wedding that costs $100,000. And then they'll go back to their small apartment and they're trying to scrounge up for a down payment on a house. You could have used that for a down payment and had like a smaller wedding with close friends, or maybe invite in a backyard or something, or even just smaller.
Troubling habit, though, would be gambling. An addiction so severe that it's reported one casino sued him after gambling $1.5 million that he couldn't actually afford to pay. And so, within 4 years of winning the cash, Jack was penniless. In the meantime, Jack's marriage had broken down, and several other family members had fallen into the trap of all the tragic excesses extreme sudden wealth could bring. By the time the money was all gone, Jack was quoted as saying he wished he'd torn the ticket up. To make matters worse, his house burned down in 2016, long after his money had dried up. His increasingly tragic story came to an end in 2020 when he passed away from an unspecified illness, though he is now immortalized as a cautionary lottery tale, if ever there was one. The Greedy Griffiths. Money, as we've seen, often comes hand in hand with greed, ultimately putting people's relationships to trial. And when Roger and Laura Griffiths won the UK lottery back in 2005, they were soon left broke in several definitions of the word. The couple married in 1997 and were seemingly content. Things began to change, though, in 2005 when they struck £1.83 million on the lottery. They promptly indulged in an £800,000 house, a £28,000 Porsche Carrera, and a £24,000 Lexus 4x4. So it's clear to see that they quickly developed a taste for the finer things in life.
No, they could just stop right there. They got the house. They got a couple of nice cars. You're good. That's it. Just continue working, living a great life.
These purchases alone had chomped up nearly half their fortune.
Yeah,
and that's not counting cash splashed on tattoos, cosmetic surgery, and lavish designer shopping sprees.
Okay.
Their fortune continued to dwindle through flashy vacations to Dubai, New York, Rome, London, and Monaco, where they'd reside in the most luxurious 5-star hotels.
Okay. But at least they don't have debt currently.
One thing I never liked about the statistic about how many lottery winners blow it all away, is it includes anyone that spent it all on physical objects like a house.
Well, I mean, that's like the first thing you really should do. No mortgage, man? That's like a dream. My parents, they had a 30-year mortgage, but I remember we all celebrated, that day when they finally paid it off. It took them all that time of hard work to finally pay it off. I have a mortgage myself. It's going to take me, I have 30 years to pay it off, Like, this is life, right? But even with the property tax, you should take the remaining of the money, plan it out for, you're going to be living there for X amount of years. You take that money of the property taxes and, adjust for it goes up. Right? For 40 years, 50 years, put it aside, and the house is now officially done with what they have. You got your 2 cars. You want to splurge a little bit, they're okay right now.
Of course, their expensive taste came at a cost, and it was a bitter one, considering that by 2013 it wasn't just their finances in ruin, but their marriage too.
Okay.
So who's to blame? Well, according to Laura, it was Roger and his reckless spending which catalyzed their decline. What with him pumping money into becoming a rock star, apparently he spent around £25,000 on reforming his old college band for a self-funded recording project. A pipe dream which proved unsuccessful considering the band's first single released in 2006 sold only 600 copies. Roger, on the other hand, points the finger at Laura for their marriage falling apart, claiming she, quote, liked handbags and spent a lot of time at Louis Vuitton. Now, I'm no marriage counselor, but I'd say it sounds like these two were both as bad as each other.
Yeah, they're both
Either
bad.
way, they were soon left with nothing but divorce papers, and by 2013, Roger was broke and living alone in a tiny cottage with, he claimed, only £7 to his name.
She took a lot.
While the ex-couple may not have made the wisest investments, can we blame them for spending?
Both of them are dumb. You had it set with the house and the 2 cars. Now continue working, right? You have a nice nest egg. You have no debt. You're debt-free. Continue working. Sit on that money. Invest it in a few things for a long term and enjoy your life. That's it. They are not debt-free. Yeah, if they got 1.8, right, and that was if that was clean with the taxes and everything, and they got when they spent the house and the 2 cars. Okay, the house and the 2 cars. That was about half. What he said was half. Correct. Then you take the lump sum of money for the 40 years. Say the property tax is $1,000. So it's $12,000 a year. You do 12 times the 40 years. You put that some money away. Boom. You're debt free right there. Take away the utilities. Oh, this is the
Michael.
Guy. He's a Michael.
Ben once said, "With great power comes great responsibility." Though it seems lottery winner Michael Carroll from Norfolk, England, didn't quite get the memo when he splurged his £9.7 million fortune on complete and utter mayhem. Michael had a bit of a sketchy childhood and was known to be something of a local menace. So much so, at just age 13, he was sent to Halsley Bay Prison for shoplifting. By 2002, he was working a steady job as a garbage man.
There it is.
Little did he know, however, that he would soon be trading and piling trash for stacking cash. At just age 19, a very lucky win left him sitting on a lottery fortune of £9.7 million, or $11.6 million, though this would dwindle into nothing at an almost impressively rapid rate. So what exactly did Michael spend his millions on? Well, initially he indulged in a 325,000-pound mansion near a lake where he could enjoy fishing.
Good.
But beyond that calm, placid-seeming purchase, things soon descended into sheer chaos. Michael has estimated that in the space of a few years he spent 300,000 pounds on parties and 230,000 pounds on adult refreshments for said parties. A further 400,000 pounds was spent on luxury cars that he would race and subsequently give the demolition derby treatment in his backyard.
Oh my God. Well, I always say too, investing in property is like, it's not a bad idea. To invest in real estate is smart. It's safe. It's there. You got it. And it's one of the best things you could do. Investing in a car is terrible. That car loses like half of its value. I don't know about half, but a good amount of its value right when it drives off the lot. The house, though, retains it. At least if you're buying houses, it's good investments. You know, I don't think like when they do these, you know, well, the first thing he did was buy. He won $9 million. He invested in a $300,000 house. That's completely fine. That's smart.
£3 million would cover the cost of various other indulgences, such as jewelry and investing in the Rangers football club. But worst of all were his costly daily breakfasts. No toast, eggs, or bacon, but instead a habit of the, Colombian variety that reportedly cost him 2,000 pounds a day.
All right. Well, that's how he woke up.
Business meetings with women of the world's friendliest profession. Professional huggers, let's say. In fact, he claims to have met with 4,000 professional huggers in just 10 years. Now that's networking. Despite all this lavish personal expenditure, though, Michael claims that more than 50% of his winnings were spent on friends and family. Not surprisingly, Michael's millions soon dwindled, and just 4 years after winning, the BBC reported that he was headed towards bankruptcy. By 2010, Michael was desperately looking to raise funds by selling his beat-up mansion, but having been wrecked by his parties and cars tearing up the yard, the house struggled to sell. Oh, if those poor walls could talk.
Yeah, and then he ruins his only investment, this guy.
Shockingly, even though he now finds himself back to doing manual labor jobs to pay the bills, he said he has absolutely no regrets. According to Michael, it was the best decade of his life. And you know what? As much as burning away all that money is incredibly dumb, you kind of have to respect his honesty and commitment to having a good time.
Honestly, that is something he's going to remember for the rest of his life. Is it dumb? Yeah. Would we do it? Probably many of us wouldn't. But to be fair, that's what life's about, creating the memories. My dad always says, like, at the end of your life, the materialist, the material things that you hold and have is either going to, go somewhere else, or, like, especially the collectible stuff or anything, it's going to end up at a garage sale. It's really about the memories and legacy you hold.
But as we'll soon see, a lottery win, successes don't always have such an upbeat ending. Wealth and welfare. According to the Social Security Administration, some 65 million Americans were relying on welfare in 2021. It's a great system to help those in need of it. However, from time to time, the system is taken advantage of, even, it seems, by millionaires. Let me explain. Back in 2011, Amanda Clayton was a struggling single mom relying on welfare. But the tide was about to change when she won $1 million on the lottery. Only even in the face of such a windfall, Amanda was overcome with greed. So every month she continued to collect her food checks worth $200. In her defense, Amanda claimed that because she was still technically unemployed, she was entitled to the welfare.
What?
But what she failed to realize is that welfare is based on income and not necessarily employment status. Sure enough, her fraudulent doings were eventually uncovered, resulting in her arrest and a...
Was that her mugshot? It's like one of the nicest mugshots I've ever seen. AIR? That's got it, bro.
Her fraudulent doings were eventually uncovered, resulting in her arrest and a 9-month probation. Not just that, but she was also ordered to pay back $5,500 that she'd illegitimately claimed in the form of food and medical assistance. Wrongdoings aside, though, Amanda's tale ended in tragedy. Just 1 year after her win, Amanda sadly passed away at 25 years old, another victim of some of the vices that sudden large amounts of money can often make people susceptible to. It's a sad story and a more serious reminder that winning the lottery isn't something to be taken lightly, no matter what stories like Michael Carroll's might seem to imply. Bad Luck Bud. Between his mother passing away young and his father putting him in an orphanage at 8 years old, Bud Post from Pennsylvania didn't exactly have the best start in life. In adulthood, he would go between jobs, including working as a cook and even truck driving for a traveling circus. But his already varied life was about to get a whole lot crazier in 1988 when he won $16.2 million on the lottery.
Bro, 1988, $16.2 million? Do you know how much money that is then? That's a lot of money.
With just $2.46 to his name beforehand, it seemed like this was Bud's big break. However, it would only bring on more hardship. How? Well, to begin with, Bud just wasn't all that smart. His winnings were in the form of a repeated annual payment of $500,000. Within 2 weeks, he'd already spent 2/3 of his first year's payment on a restaurant, a plane, and a used car lot, to name but a few items. It's reported that just 3 months into his win, he was somehow $500,000 in debt. Thankfully, these debts could be settled when he received the next year's payments. But the same pattern of debts began to emerge each year, each time worse than the last.
Even though you see this and you're like, how? This is like typical just with many people in credit card debt. You know, they're waiting for the paycheck to come in, right? And they're just continuing. There's a lot of people that this happens. This is just with larger amounts of money. On normal people, it's just on a smaller scale.
But a little further down the line, Bud's on-again, off-again girlfriend, Ann Carpet, claimed that she was entitled to half of the fortune. You see, back when he was dirt broke, Bud had pawned a ring for $40. With that money, he'd ask Ann to go buy 40 lottery tickets. One of those 40 was the big winner, and according to her, they'd agreed to split the winnings. While Bud denied this, the court ultimately awarded Ann 1/3 of his winnings.
What? She was just like, yeah, we agreed and shook hands, and the court gave it to her. That's a he said, she said. There had to be other stuff that we don't know.
Bud's life was also in danger. What with his estranged brother hiring an individual with a very peculiar set of skills to, let's say, take Bud out of the picture, hoping to inherit his money in the process. Fortunately for Bud, the attempt failed. Despite all the setbacks, Bud still found time to indulge in cars, a boat, and property. However, by the late 90s, he was facing yet another legal battle, this time for getting into a rather unpleasant altercation with a debt collector. By this point, Bud was onto his 6th wife, a number which eventually grew to 7, with each divorce taking another huge chunk of his assets with it. After his debt collector-related legal battle, Bud found himself with a 6 to 24-month prison sentence, which he refused. A bold strategy for sure, but not necessarily a smart.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to serve prison time. No Giga Chat.
Eventually, after 6 years of avoidance, he was arrested on a $260,000 sailboat. By the time his sentence was served, Bud was completely broke, reportedly living off $450 a month disability check, not to mention over $1 million in debt. We have to feel a little sorry for the guy. After all he went through, it sounds like a very expensive therapy bill.
Oh my God.
Donation diddler.
Donation diddler?
Just the thought of being a millionaire might be enough to make most people's mouth water. But 65-year-old Marva Wilson was a lot calmer and more measured than most when she pocketed a tasty $2 million in 2008. The Missouri grandmother actually planned to use some of the money to put her granddaughter through college and allow herself just $30,000 a year to spend.
Okay.
But little did she know she would become the victim of an elaborate scam which would diddle her out of $480,000.
No.
It all began in 2010 when Marva crossed paths with Freya Pearson, an unemployed single mom relying on welfare. As scammers so often do, Freya appeared kind and personable, and she and Marva quickly became good friends.
Oh no.
But Freya had an ulterior motive. She began convincing Marva to withdraw funds from her lottery winnings and donate them to her nonprofit charity, Recidivism at Work. Freya built up a picture of the charity as providing support to prevent at-risk young folks with criminal records from reoffending and helping them find work. But here's the thing. The charity was nothing but a front. And the money? That was just lining Freya's pockets.
Oh my God.
But with the unfortunate naivety of a good-hearted and generous older soul, Marva blindly agreed to donate to Recidivism at Work, and all in all was swindled out of $480,000.
Oh,
having fooled Marva, Freya would begin indulging in gambling, traveling, expensive cars, and designer clothes. Eventually, though, this escapade left Marva bankrupt, and as financial authorities unraveled the paper trail, Freya was caught. In 2017, she was sentenced to 5 years jail time with no parole charged with wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion.
Good.
The scariest part is that she's probably been let loose now, and ironically, I fear there may be some recidivism.
That's the one thing that happens with these people. It's always tax evasion will always get you, man. Especially when you run into big sums of money like that. Whenever an investigation, the IRS is right there, like, all right, send us in. Big sums of money, you're investigating it, we want to be there too. And it's like, if you go through the loopholes and say you get clear of everything, you're like, whew, all right, I think I'm okay. They just tap you on the back, and you're like, oh no, not you. And they're like, we're going to look at everything now.
Young money. It's estimated that the human brain doesn't fully develop until around age 25. And as we saw with Michael Carroll, winning the lottery as just a teen can have disastrous outcomes. I mean, just look at Britain's youngest lottery winner, 16-year-old Callie Rogers. The year was 2003, and 16-year-old Callie Rogers became the lucky winner of £1.8 million. Like many a lotto winner, she assured she wouldn't go wild and spend loads.
Okay.
Predictably, though, this didn't exactly turn out to be true. In the next few years, she reportedly splurged £300,000 on designer clothes, splashed out on endless lavish parties, hefty donations to friends, family, and romantic partners. Callie was having fun. Some might even say a little too much, seeing as she was reported as being broke by 2009. This quick rise and fall left her living back with her mom, taking on cleaning jobs just to make ends meet.
Oh my God.
Similar to other lotto winners, though, Callie claims to be much happier without the money. What with it causing her severe anxiety and leading her to many of those same vices lottery winners often encounter. However, since losing it all, she hasn't exactly stayed out of trouble. Despite now being a mother of 4 training to work in social care, in 2020 she was given a 22-month driving ban as a result of driving while in a, let's just say, less than suitable state of mind.
Oh boy.
During her arrest, she was said to be irate and even attempted to break out of her cuffs. Not such a smart move. But considering how she lost her millionaire status through unchecked, reckless extravagance, it was a fairly in-character move all the same.
Wow.
And that, my friends, is all for today. Tell
That
me,
was
which
awesome.
individual...
Savannah.